the Numenoreans, arguably my favorite of all the races and factions of Lord of the Rings, led by a number of characters throughout the years, Aragorn being a very important one when it comes to the Dunedain. And in this video today, we're going to create Elendil and the Numenoreans of the Realms in Exile. And we'll be doing this by pretty much making out a high culture and going through that process. I'll be showing you each and every step. As always, so guys, with these build guide videos, you can find all of them linked in the upper right-hand corner. Make sure you are doing this in a way that you see fit. Use this as a guideline or a blueprint to create the race that or faction that you want to in the light that you want to enjoy the game. Age of Wonders 4 is best enjoyed in a non-min-maxing way. You can quickly navigate to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters about the timeline and the description. Also, if you've not yet picked up Age of Wonders 4, you can do so using my link to my Nexus Store. They give you a Steam key directly from the developer, and it is a great way to support myself as well as my mini Australian Shepherd. Also, guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I stream this game and plenty of other ones. But let's get started here on creating the Numenoreans and Elendil in Age of Wonders 4. Moving into the character creation, the faction creation for the Numenoreans, we're of course going humans. Now for our body and mind traits, you can take this a lot of different routes, but I'm going with hardy and I'm going with tenacious. Both of these are themed around what I would assume kind of fall into line with the Numenorian. You can go with strong here if you want to go more on that heavier hitting route, but I think of these long-lasting, very stalwart and hardy folk that were effectively Supermen, right? Like Elendil is just shy of 7 feet tall. So Numenorians in the books were very, very, very hearty folk. So we'll select that. And with our culture, I think feudal is one I originally thought of, but after really kind of going into it, high is what I've landed on as far as the total focus for everything. Now, of course, you know, Lord of the Rings is not high fantasy in the regard of using a bunch of spells and magic, especially not the Numenoreans, because they were blessed by the Valar, not with the ability to create spells, but with long lastingness of the Valar. So we're going with high here, and I want to go with devotees of good for our society traits. And then from there, you have options. Experienced Seafarers, I think thematically is probably the one you want to go with, but I don't like it for one very specific reason. It's too dependent upon the map you're playing on. If you're playing a lot of island maps and a lot of coastal and continental maps, then by all means go and experience Seafarers if you want that kind of tried and true experience of the Numenoreans. But I think that for the constraints of an Age of Wonders game, Great Builders works just as well thematically and is also very good. Quarries yield 2 extra gold, special province improvements cost less production to make, and your capital city starts with a workshop and stone walls. I think it fits thematically and it's quite good. So I think those are our 2 big ones here. Devotees of Good especially too is going to be nice for our bonus. Remember, we're playing as the high... Am I high? What the hell? We're playing as high, which means we have alignment agenda. So when you're pure good, you get city stability in all cities increased. So this kind of puts us towards that with devotees of good. Also, we get further city stability gain and Imperium gain per level of good alignment. So city stability is not going to be an issue for you at all. And you start with an additional support or polearm unit. Getting additional ranks for them as well, which is quite nice. The polearms are very good for high. Now, moving into our tomes, we're gonna start off with Tome of Faith, and we'll talk about this a little bit later and why we're not going to go with the other tome. But you could also start with, if you want, the Tome of Enchantment. It really kind of fits into the theme of Numenorians and being crafters and builders that are exceptionally skilled in such things. But we're going to start off here with Tome of Faith. We're going to select that. It's going to take 9 years to select it. We're going to go with a champion, because that would make sense for us. Oh my god, you're so little. And we're going to, we're pretty much going to make ourselves as tall as possible. Because remember, like I said, Elendil was like just shy of 7 feet. I'm going to go with like, maybe a head that's kind of a little more gruff. Yeah, that'll do, pig. You see, I always like to go with someone that's got glowing eyes, but I suppose it's like a fair blue eye will do. Get rid of this hood, for I am Numenorian. Now you could pivot this, right? You could do the Dunedain and go heavier into order and nature, and go probably with feudal if you went Dunedain, and kind of leverage a little bit more towards range. I would do stuff like keen focus if I was going to make like an Aragorn. And if you want an Aragorn video, let me know in the comment section below, guys. I'll definitely do an Aragorn for you. Look at that coiffed hair. It's got to be that coiffed. Yeah, it's going to have to be this one. Elendil didn't have long flowing locks. And there we go. I mean, that'll do. That'll do, pig. And then for the outfit here, the one thing I love about High is to get a really cool, like, this is sick. This is really great. And there's a good helmet here. We can go with this helmet, which is great. A lot of cool options. Really can't go wrong. We're gonna go because they talk about like the metal filigreed winged helmets and whatnot. It's a little too evil for me. Probably go with something like that, which is from the Pantheon unlock system. We'll go with white, shining white of Numenor. I even like that pose. You can go with a lance if you so wish, if you want to stay on a horse, but I'd probably go sword and shield or lance. The Tyrant sword and shield gives you intimidation aura if you want it. But do whatever you want right here. Don't feel locked into any one thing. Just so weird. Why is he looking down the ground so solemnly? Like, oh, my people, they have forsaken me. We're gonna go. I think that pose was kind of cool. I like that. That like I'm an angry man pose. And then we're gonna make sure, do not skip this part. I've skipped this part plenty of times on accident. So you can go black and white here if you want to stick more along the lines of what you saw perhaps in the Lord of the Rings. I think this symbol here, this one here, this one here. There's no tree that you can really kind of take advantage of. There's this one. That's not the decrepit white tree. Like, nah, that's not it. Not it for me. But this is a good one. I mean, you've got some other symbols you can kind of go with, but I do like this one for it. It's a choice for you now between black and white. You can even go black and gold if you want, black and white, yellow, or you can go with that kind of like navy blue. Oh yeah, that's our navy blue. Let's show us the purple. And that one's pretty good as well. And for our actual race, we'll go the same thing. Super tall folk with armor color that is white. There you go. So a fairer skin. And then mount type, I'd actually go. I don't know why. It just kind of fits for me. This overly pure race, as it were. So that is essentially. Go ahead and we'll do our name here. Also just do some last name. We'll do Veronda, the Faithful. Race name. I wonder if we can actually use special characters. No, oh, we can. So I copied that special character from the internet, so you can actually use that. And for our title, we'll go High King. I like that a little bit more. High King of the Dunedain, King of Arnor, King of Gondor. All three of those work. King in exile, you know, because this is the realms in exile. But there are your to the Numenor, but maybe even Numenoreans, whatever one you want to go with the actual race name on this. He will bring a new age of prosperity to the Numenoreans. Yeah. And then you just go ahead and go onward. So let's now talk about some Tomes choices. So our Tome choices now are the first one being Tome of Faith. We talked about that. Then we're going to splash into the Tome of Enchantment. Either one, whichever one you want to start with, you're just going to go with the opposite. Spell Tempered Shield, Seeker Arrows are really good because it's increasing that range on your skirmish and your ranged units. You don't have any skirmish units by default with High, so do keep that in mind. It's not that amazing, but still, it does fit. Then in Tier 2, you're going to take Tome of Artificing. Remember, the Siege of Barad-dûr is something like, someone can tell me it's something absurdly long. It was years from what I recall. And these guys are good at sieging. So Siege Magic, Artisan Fortification, Construct Bolt Repeaters, Artisan Armaments all play very well hand in hand with what you're doing here. Then you're going to jump back into Order, and you're going to go Tome of the Beacon. You're going to avoid Tome of Zeal, Inquisition, and Subjugation. Those are like the three evil ones of Order, which are pretty still cool, but I think they just don't really fit overall what you're trying to do. So Tome of the Beacon here is great because you're getting Covenant of the Faith, which is going to help boost your vassal opinion for all of your vassal cities. I'm sorry, Rally of the Legion, such like that. And you'll get Blessed Reinforcements for getting Blessed Souls. You get your Mighty Meek, which reduces your units' upkeep of all of your Tier 1 units. So only Tier 1 units are going to get that. But it's a very champion of the faithful here. Remember, the Valar rewarded the Numenorians for being faithful to the Valar, and that's kind of the whole shtick we're going into. Into tier 3, we're going Tome of Sanctuary, where we're going to get Anointed People, which is really cool for a minor race transformation, and Keeper's Mark, which also gives us faithful to all of our units that are shield, polearm, shock, fighter, and skirmish units. So that's going to give faithful to all of them, which is great. And they take fatal damage. They basically are unable to die for 1 turn, which is lovely as well. Salvation here for some healing hit points and bolstering resistance, concentrated domain, healing spires, a lot of cool things. Now, your tier 3, you can jump back into Materium and do Tome of Transmutation. The transmutation, if you so wish. Personally, though, I'd splash very quickly into Tome of Nature, Tome of Vigor, and get Super Growth. Because remember, Numenorians were super men. They were men that were larger, lived longer, stronger, and I think that this plays really well with that. Your units are all going to become huge, jacked, like HGH steroid taken mofos, and I think that just kind of plays really well with the overall theme you've built for them. The rest of these are not going to be as useful for you, you know, just being totally transparent, right? Like, you're not really focusing on animal play, but you still can get benefits from it. You can summon greater animals and use Empowered Beast to make those animals stupid strong. Then use Unleash Beast to then make those animals disgustingly strong. And this applies to cavalry as far as Unleash Beasts go. So if you do have cav units, you can actually use Unleash Beast on them and get a little bit of benefit for any of those units you've maybe gotten through Rally of the Lieges and what have you. So do keep that in mind. I think that just Super Growth is so cool thematically for this race. Then jumping back here into order, we're going to finish off with our 2 tier 4 tomes, both the Tome of Exhalation. Now, Angel Eyes is a really good major race transformation, but maybe you skip it because it doesn't talk about the Numenorians having huge giant wings. Maybe you take it because it's also one of my favorite race transformations, because you get flying, you get Faithful, which reduces upkeep on the units that didn't get it already, and you get Celestial, which gives you control loss immunity. So a cool thing you can kind of do for some future theory crafting on how you can build into this is that this removes any control loss immunity. And oftentimes, Berserk accompanies an ability that gives you Strengthen or gives you something else in addition to Berserk. Take, for example, again, Unleash the Beast. 5 Strengthen, 5 Bolster Defense, and Berserk. If I had cav units that were angelized and I cast Unleash the Beast on them, they'd be immune to the Berserk from Unleash the Beast. So keep that in mind. It's a pretty sick way that you can kind of circumvent that. Also, it makes it so that you're not dealing with any kind of tomfoolery from anyone who tries to mind control your units, which is great. Resurrect, Temple of the Exalted, Descended Warriors, which is really cool. So non-hero units in the target army gain 1 rank. Then Tome of Supremacy is our final tier 4. Even though this one's kind of like the evil theme of them, you still get Eagle Riders, which are nifty. Monument, the Anthem, Supreme Magic. And the nice thing about Supreme Magic is grants Zeal, which makes base attacks deal extra spirit damage, and they deal more to condemned units. So you have circumvented all of the abilities to give you Zeal in the evil tomes, quote unquote evil tomes, and the condemnation that you get from these, to then pick it up right here with these 2 abilities. Supreme Magic, where you get the Zeal ability, Zeal doing damage to +2 spirit damage, and they also do double that against condemned units. And Condemned Army, they take 20 spirit damage and the whole damn thing's condemned. So you can really kind of double this down, right? Like, oh, we condemn the evils of Morgoth or Sauron, and we're going to go to town with all of our Zeal. You can kind of have some fun with that kind of RP in your brain. Then Tome of the God Emperor. Think of this as kind of being blessed by the Valar, and you get a ton of fun stuff here. Divine Protection, because I get Resurgence. So units in the target friendly army, not just one unit, the whole army gets this, which is a really good ability. Mass Revive, again, kind of throwing back into that ability to stay on the battlefield for as long as possible, right? And that's a really cool biddy here. Exalted Champion, Conjure Dome of Protection, which is pretty sick, and then Wrath of the Emperor. So this is how I would approach the Numenoreans in Age of Wonders 4. You can go different routes. You can say, oh, I'm going to be the Black Numenorians, and I'm going to go evil. And you can even take the evil Tome of Zeal, Tome of Inquisition, and Subjugation, and go into the fact that you are playing as the high culture and make yourself evil. Pure evil units start combat in an awakened state. Remember that playing as... Oh man, he just looks so cool already. playing as these guys, you get your the dormant ability. When you awaken them, they become Awakened Guardian. You get these additional retaliation attack and all these things. So really try to have a lot of fun with this build. Try to approach this in different ways. I've given you a very real cookie cutter Numenorian, but maybe you go Dunedain and try to focus on doing a lot of range units and doing stuff like that to be the Rangers of the Dunedain. Or maybe you do go down the Black Numenoreans. Or maybe you make the Kingdom of Arnor. However you want to approach this, hopefully this gives you a good idea on how to do Numenorians in Age of Wonders 4.